This is CounterAttack Radio with Dan Bloom and Pete Koury.
Manchester City. One of the longest waits in football is over. Manchester City are winners again. In the week when they announced their return to the main stage of European football, Manchester City win one of the game's major prizes for the first time since 1976. Not a bad week's work.
Bill Dowd, the referee on this occasion, puts his whistle in his mouth, and there it is, confirmation that Manchester United are champions for a record 19th time. All the substitutes and management staff are off the bench. Sir Alex Ferguson had a little handshake with Steve Keane. Rooney takes the plaudits. It was his penalty to level matters.
Welcome in to Counterattack. I am Dan Bloom alongside my strike partner Peter Koury. As we heard coming into today's program, Manchester is the center of the footballing universe, at least centered around England. In these recent days, Man U takes down their 19th ever league title, passing arch rivals Liverpool with 18 for the most ever domestic titles in England. And the first segment that we heard, the first clip, Manchester City wins the FA Cup over a lackluster Stoke City side, winning their first silverware in 35 years, longer than either one of us have been alive. And in the same week, they join the ranks of Champions League contenders. Not a bad day for the city of Manchester. Am I right, Pete?
You got to be happy for Man City. I mean, they spent a lot of money.
Why do you have to be happy for Man City?
Because, Danny, they've spent a lot of money over the last couple of years.
Yes.
And finally, that has come to fruition. Last year was a huge disappointment, falling to Tottenham down the stretch. They could not surpass Tottenham for the last Champions League spot. This year, they bring home a trophy and they clinch the Champions League spot. I think this is great for English soccer. I mean, I think it's great for the sport. I mean, another team that can really contend for the title, because when you look at it, and I talked with Giorgio about this last weekend, when you look at it...
Giorgio Canalia of the Football Show.
It's only been a 5-horse race for the past couple of years. It's only been a 4-horse race for the past couple of years.
Right.
Now it's a 6-horse race.
Yep.
I think next year you can legitimately point to 6 teams. Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, and now Manchester City as title contenders.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's great for the league. The more teams that can contend, the more great teams we see is better for play. It's better for competition.
Yep.
It makes more games important. And, you used to be able to only see great head-to-head matchups when the Big Four played each other, when it was Arsenal-Chelsea, or whether it was Man U-Liverpool. Now there's so many more big games. You have 3 London teams there, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, 2 Manchester teams, Manchester United, Manchester City, and then Liverpool, which was once the capital of soccer pretty much in England.
Yep.
All these teams are going to be in the conversation next season, so it's great to see Man City kind of break through into that group. A big win for them. I'm happy for them. I know you're not a big Man City fan because...
Well, I'm just saying that they're a hateable team.
They're pulling out the wallet. That's what they do, Danny.
They pull out the wallet. They
pull out the wallet, and they get the big bucks, as you can see, Mr. Washington here, okay? And they just throw them around. They make it rain, okay? They're the Pac-Man Jones of European soccer. And you know what? I can't hate that. If you got the money, go out and spend it. This is bus fare for the ride home.
Very good.
If you got the money, go out and spend it. And I'm happy things have worked out.
That is how the modern game goes. I mean, you can't, as Giorgio likes to say, reinvent hot water. Great players play for lots of money in their wages, and if you can't pay those wages, you end up waving goodbye to your chance to sign the world's best players. Now, one very big difference that I can point to between Manchester United and Manchester City is that of team spirit, is that of veteran leadership, and is of that of experienced coaching. I have to give lots of plaudits and lots of respect to Roberto Mancini, who decided he was going to play a very restrictive, a very defensive, a very conservative system this year. He doubled down on that, and it went well. I mean, it worked out great for him in the end. There were very much certain times during the season where I wasn't sure it was going to work for him. I wasn't sure that they were going to end up making it in 4th place. But over the long haul of the season, the Champions League competition for Tottenham basically, to me, ended up sapping so much of their attention and their energy.
Remember, we talked about that at the beginning of the year, too.
Yeah,
so they have the horses.
It was a very difficult slog. It's interesting because you work so hard to make it into that fourth slot. Then you celebrate. You're jubilant, especially with the kind of success that they were able to have. Of course, talking about Tottenham, making it past the group. First, they were down to Young Boys of Switzerland 3-0 in the first.
That's right.
Remember, they almost didn't make it into the group stage. Make it to the group stage of the Champions League. They overcome that deficit. They win their group, for God's sake.
With the title holders in that group, Inter Milan, including a great three-goal comeback in Milan.
Right, and then they take out AC Milan in a home-and-home, including a shutout of the most successful team in this competition's history at home. So they achieved a great deal this year, but in doing so, they sapped their energy that was necessary to make it back into the Champions League. And Tottenham's example serves as a reason why it's so difficult to be a top-level team in the world of European soccer. Even if you do enough to make it into the competition, and then you bust people's heads wide open when you're in that competition, you still cannot afford to take your eye off the ball in domestic competition, as some would say they did, dropping lots of points to lower quality teams, and they find themselves now on the outside of the Champions League, looking in at rivals Manchester City, who will be very much enjoying their time in the Champions League.
Dan, Tottenham ran out of bullets. They ran out of bullets.
Yeah, and Peter Crouch exploded.
They came into a gunfight, okay? They're gunslingers. They're ready to go to war. John Wayne, ready to do it. And they kept reaching for ammunition. You keep reaching deep down, finding players on the bench. Sandro, what a great surprise he was this year.
Yeah, he was great.
But injuries slowed them down a little bit. The schedule alone, between cup games domestically, cup games internationally in the Champions League, and then your league games, no break. Remember, these guys in England don't get a winter break.
Yeah, they don't.
These guys have played so many games.
They need to adjust that. They really do need a winter break.
In the past 5 or 6 months, they were run ragged.
Yep.
And when it came down to it, they were firing, they were hitting targets left and right. They came up against Real Madrid. They ran out of bullets.
They did.
Okay, they came into the end of the Premier League season. They ran out of bullets. They couldn't beat teams they should have handled easily.
And unfortunately, a player that I think has done a very good job over the course of his career largely, and over the first part of this season, Peter Crouch, in getting Tottenham to where they were in this great season that they had. Well, it turns out that Crouch personally was responsible for their exit from 2 competitions. Crouch caught himself a very foolish red card in the first 20 minutes of the game at the Bernabeu in the Champions League, thereby really cutting the legs under Tottenham's chances to advance in that competition. And then, when they were head-to-head with Manchester City in truly the deciding game about who would have the leg up and be able to make it in the Champions League, the one goal scored in that game, own goal by Peter Crouch into the back of his own net. This leads me to my next point, Pete Koury. Lots of rumors and speculation. We've talked about it a lot on this show. Will Didier Drogba remain a Chelsea player over the summer? If so, he'll have to swallow an insane amount of pride and put past him all of the, frankly, disrespect he's been shown by the Chelsea brass, by Carlo Ancelotti, in placing El Nino Fernando Torres above him in the depth chart. So, lots of the rumors have Didier Drogba going in to fill the spot of Peter Crouch at striker at Tottenham. Your thoughts about this potential deal?
First off, is Drogba going to be on Chelsea's team next year? My opinion, no. I don't see it working. It's not going to work with him and Torres playing at the same time. They've invested so much money in Torres. He's the younger player. He's going to get the nod over Drogba. Since they can't play at the same time, Drogba's going to have to be relegated to the bench, a role he's not going to want to play.
Or they're going to have to get rid of Anelka, a player who's been very successful for Chelsea over the last few years.
Drogba and Torres they don't play well together. They're too similar. It's
not
just,
yet.
It's not. There is some time for gelling. There's off-season workouts. They have a couple months to really get used to each other's play. Torres was really thrown into the fray earlier this January. But I think a move for Drogba is necessary for his career. I think it's necessary for Chelsea to get some income to go out and get some midfielders, maybe get some defenders. We saw what happened when Terry went down, when Alex went down. It seemed a little shaky in the back. A move to Tottenham would make sense. I think it would be a good move for both teams. Tottenham needs a little more bite up front.
He wouldn't have to get a new apartment. Just move
he would
across
fit
town.
that. Jermaine Defoe has already come out and said that he is unhappy where he is right now. He is not playing as much as he wanted to, so he could be on the outs. I've heard Sandro could be moving to Spain, one of the Spanish teams. I know Barcelona has had their eye on him. He's a talented player. If you're going to let go of some players, if people want out, Tottenham's going to have to replenish. And I think Drogba would be a good piece, a guy who can provide veteran leadership. I think he could work well with Bale, feeding him from the outside, Van der Vaart right behind him, Ashley Lennon on the right side. I think that could be Aaron. See, I do that every single time.
That would have been a really good combo of a player, though. Ashley Young and Aaron Lennon put him together.
We talk about that every time. I mean, they're both very good wing players. I always get them confused. But, Aaron Lennon on the right side, I think they could work well with Drogba. I like the move. Do you see it happening?
I like the move a lot. I'm not sure if Daniel Levy, the Tottenham chairman, is going to be willing to throw out £130,000 a week, which is reportedly Drogba's wage package.
It's a hefty fee.
And Tottenham does not like to do that. Tottenham is not one of these gigantic money teams that's throwing money left and right. I mean, they're a very wealthy team and in the upper echelon of English squads, but they're not really on that Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City level at this point. They have to run their club smarter. They have to run their club in a frugal manner. They can't go out there and just splash the cash a la Manchester City. They have to really pick out their buys. In this case, though, I just think that it's a perfect match. I think that Didier Drogba would be great on Tottenham. That said, Tottenham knows that his shelf life is not going to be any longer than maximum 5 years. I mean, Didier Drogba's already in his 30s. We know that he's had a spectacular career for Chelsea as yet. I think he would be a perfect player to join Tottenham to kind of, especially to show Chelsea, to really get back at Chelsea. Not that Chelsea and Tottenham are traditionally great rivals, but as far as ease of transition, Drogba being able to stay in London, a place that I know he enjoys living, he has his family there. It's a very attractive proposition to say, I'm going to move across town to a team that also has very good prospects and has been very successful, and I don't have to throw my life into upheaval. That said, Tottenham is not in the Champions League next year, which is a very big drawback.